The number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. This is WFO Radio.
Everybody, WFO Radio is back. That's right. After 3 in a row, Reading, Charlotte, and St. Louis now all in the books. The first half, it's halftime of the NHRA Countdown. It's halftime. The teams are all in the, virtual locker room thinking about what happened. Some of them have got championship hopes. Others do not. It's the way the schedule works. We knock 3 out of the way and just, cull the herd, however you want to call it. But we have seen some rise to the occasion. We have seen some falter. We have seen some falter and are still in it. It's kind of interesting in all our different Camping World Series categories. We're going to talk about all of that, the event that was the NHRA Midwest Nationals. Alan Reinhardt is out on the road, so we're going to connect with him as well and do a nice debrief session on the NHRA Midwest Nationals. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. Your comments are welcome. Got a lot to say. First and most importantly, Angie Smith. Oh my goodness, we love you. We appreciate you. We're so, like we, as in me. I'm speaking only for myself, but I know what everybody else thinks, right? Like one tough lady. The idea that she's, back home and the internet has got photos all over the place, all the social media, but I'm so proud of the community that can fight it out on the track, can fight it out and be totally agitated by one another when it comes to performance and competition. But when it matters, unite immediately. Form like Voltron and do whatever needs to be done and be helpful and caring. And that's what happened. That's what I witnessed. It was amazing. So Angie, thinking about you and Matt and everybody, thinking about you guys. Wow. The good news is that we were able to appreciate the rest of the race and enjoy good news. And we're going to talk about it here today. And I'm super excited, but I do want to tell you about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO each week. Like the show doesn't happen by accident. It happens because of folks like Bernie's Speed Shop. Over 100,000 square foot up there in Ocala, Florida. And they are selling classic muscle cars, exotic cars. They've got cars on consignment from clients. And they are a body shop. They're a paint shop. They do everything up there at Bernie's. They're an e-bike dealership. They do it all. So most importantly, you could go to their website and just check out their inventory. And maybe you've got a classic muscle car you're looking to sell, something you want to sell on consignment, reach out to Bernie's. BURNYZZ.com, Josh Hart. And it's amazing to know that he has created such a great business from starting out going door to door, knocking on doors. May I wash your car, please? And he has built this. And that's why it says anything's possible on the rear window of his machine. Bernie Speed Shop, go check them out. Total Seal piston rings. Heard a little bit at the start of the show. I'm very excited. We're going to be doing a new episode of Hidden Horsepower later on today that will get posted hopefully later on this week. Shane Tecklenburg, Shane T, EFI tuner. And what does he tune? Well, drag cars, Pikes Peak Hill Climb, Bonneville Salt Flats, plane races, all kinds of stuff, like anything that needs to be tuned EFI wise. The guy is a genius. And we're going to speak with him a little bit about, what's it take and how does it all work? And how, of course, it all comes back to the importance of ring seal on Hidden Horsepower, which is pretty amazing. So go to TotalSeal.com, make them your first call, not your last call. And Keith Jones, I'll just call and ask for Keith, is the way to do it. Phillips Connect, smart trailer technology, Phillips-Connect.com. Has kind of changed the game out there for people with transportation companies in the transportation industry. Once upon a time, you would just wait for the phone to ring and there's a problem. And now you actually have an option to try to get ahead of it by monitoring wheel hubs and brakes and loads and everything that's part of the transportation industry, trucks and trailers out on the road. So if you've got a fleet, a small investment in Phillips Connect sensors and smart trailer technology can save you big money down the road when it will hurt you the worst, because now your truck and trailer is on the side of the road. You got a driver calling you like, hey, man, we got a problem. Get ahead of it. Phillips-Connect.com. And if you would like a personalized introduction, like right to the front of the line, email me, Joe at WFOradio.com. Phillips-Connect. The folks at Foggit, new technology as well. Go out there. I was having a conversation with Gary out there this past weekend in St. Louis, and Al Gavlovsky was out there, and he goes on and wins the race in Super Gas, which was super cool because I got to like hang with Al, and he goes out and wins the race. Congratulations, Al, your first win. But we were just having a conversation about, a rolling conversation about everything having to do with .90 racing and engine building and all that. And a gentleman comes over and he was like, yeah, like what would I use in the situation to trip? And it's like the answer was Foggit, which was perfect because Gary had a bunch of it there. Foggit, whether it be strictly for inside of your race engine after you're done racing or in the machine shop or working on firearms. This is a multifaceted product that is just taken off like gangbusters. And so get in on the program, especially that divisional contingency program. Foggit. That's Foggit. Gary Stennett, Steve Williams doing a great job. Also, FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. These guys are on board with WFO. Look, I know that every one of our WFO listeners is not going to go out and buy a 180 straight cut gear power glide for .90 racing or Pro Mod or Top Sportsman and Top Dragster. But I do know that you are all connected to racers that at some point will have to make the decision amongst the many transmission factories out there. And that is where you come in and this WFO endorsement comes in. Like, you don't have to go far. Just look at the winners. Look at those contingency decals week after week after week. It's FTIperformance.com in the late rounds, certainly with the high horsepower cars out there and Right Trailers, Top Sportsman, Top Dragster. And they are consistent. They repeat, and it's amazing to watch them. But it's not just on the racetrack. They do transmissions, they shift kits. Troy Williams told me, like, hey, man, don't forget the people out there cruising the streets with their high-powered cars nowadays. They need our product too. So FTIperformance.com. Check them out. And big supporters of WFO Radio. Greatly appreciate all those folks and everybody who supports our show. It has been great. And later on in the show, I'll tell you about Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. I'll tell you about samtech.edu, and I'll tell you about Marvin Rodak, because we're headed down to the Stampede of Speed. I'm headed there this week. It is going to be great. But right now, let's bring on the voice of the NHRA. He's out there somewhere in America. He looks a little frozen. Let's hope he's not. He's in the truck stop. He's in the parking lot. Alan Reinhardt, are you there? Can you hear me?
Hey, Joe. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. And I'm not even sure where I am. I saw the sign when I pulled in. It was some little town in Illinois. I had to go to Indianapolis for a studio session doing some stuff for Lucas yesterday. And so I'm headed back to St. Louis now for the big regional this weekend.
A big regional this weekend. All right, so your internet is a little unstable as Nowhere Land, Illinois. We're going to see if it solidifies. And if it doesn't, we'll just have you call the bat line, which I will text you, and we'll do voice only because I'm sure that'll work. Yeah, look at that. He's gone. Look at that. He's gone. No worries. We have done this before. The whole thing about being totally mobile and all over the country and just relying on internet wherever you happen to be, it generally works, but not always when it just quit. Yeah, see, here we go. Bang. And he'll call in and we'll do it. But the good old phone lines, they're still pretty reliable. Like this live streaming stuff that everybody's doing. But I do want to get into it about this race. I really think that this race, it's always pivotal, right? And it did. Things pivoted, but they pivoted in a way that was more towards close competition than it was towards breakaway competition. Like I think about Funny Car, right? Like the way it worked out with Hagan and Caps running each other in the final round, that brought the field closer together. And so you got the big four, if you will, the big four who are, we've been calling them the big three, and then Tasca climbs into the big four, Funny Car racers that are, most likely to win. And I know that there are people that really don't like the separation of competitors based on capability to win. Like that's a big polarizing topic in NHRA drag racing in all categories. Like, we're all competitors and we all have equal opportunity to win, and we should be treated absolutely equally. Look at that. Here he is. This is what we're doing. We're solving problems, baby. We're solving problems. Alan, are you out there?
Yeah, sorry about that. It was like there, then it just disappeared.
Yeah, the cell service nationwide isn't totally reliable. I think this works for me as long as people out there don't mind not seeing your mug, which I'm pretty confident that they are okay with that. Let's do it. I
don't believe anybody tunes in to go, hey, let's just look at Alan this week.
I concur. I concur. Yeah. But you're out there on the road too, so we're not going to keep you for too long. But I was just kind of thinking about this race and that in the past, we have seen separation in St. Louis. And this week we saw contention, I guess, at St. Louis as the pack came closer together, certainly in funny car. Doug Coletta, the breakaway for Doug was stopped. Pro Stock Motorcycle notwithstanding, we'll get there. And maybe we should start there because that's how I started the show, with my thoughts going out to Angie and Matt Smith and just like what a tough lady Angie Smith is. She's a friend of the show. The relationship with Angie Smith goes back many, many years. And that was just a horrific moment we all experienced, certainly the worst for Angie and the family. But to see all the photos on the social media of her smiling and walking out of there in a walker and now back home, like, wow, that makes things okay this weekend.
Well, she's a very tough lady, obviously, and she's also very driven and very competitive. And, we've talked things happen, we after week after week.
And yeah, now the cell phone service isn't working. It's a bummer, man. We're just going to wait it out. Like, we'll just keep talking about it because Alan, I'm sure he can hear us. And so I will just dive into that. The fact, and when he's back, he'll be back. Or he'll be gone. And he just dropped off. It's a miracle that we can do anything. Getting internet on a plane. And I'm watching movies and whatnot, but there are still parts of the country that are vast empty spaces. And I know this from my travels. Vast empty spaces. We got 330 million Americans. When you look at the land, we're kind of small on the map. If you think about it, compared to the masses over there in Asia and Europe, like look at that land mass and look at our land mass. But when you're actually on the ground, there are miles and miles and miles of just nothingness, and they're not connected, and they're still living in, let's call it the 1950s, right? The same life, except there's more. So to expect all our gadgets and bells and whistles to work all over the place is a little bit, Alan, are you there?
I hope so. I didn't realize I'd cut off. You
cut off, right? You're going into what a tough lady Angie is, and you just cut off. So it's going to be one of those shows. The good news is people love watching me struggle. So no one's going anywhere. They're going to love it. So go ahead, talk about Angie, because come on, we all experienced that together, and to see her home was heartwarming.
Well, definitely. Matt said that his goal was to get back home because they have the family, they have the support group there to help out with whatever she needs, and especially with him still being on the road. I mean, racing is what he does for a living. It's not like he can just take the rest of the year off and sit home. So I know that she wants to get back on a motorcycle. I know she wants to prove to the motorcycle and to everybody else that this thing didn't beat her. I think the good news is that she is expected to make a full recovery from everything I've heard. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So we'll all be thinking about her, and we'll certainly be missing her at the racetrack.
Yes, exactly. Now, I know that what I'm about to ask you, I'm only asking you just for the legitimacy as a journalist, but I don't know the answer to this question either. There was some questions put out by Matt on the internet about the bike. Did they get the bike back? Everyone in our chat section is asking about what happened with the bike. It's NHRA policy to impound any vehicle that gets crashed and then release it at some point. Beyond knowledge of the existence of that policy, I have never dug deeper into it. And apparently there was, and I don't even know if it's still a thing at this moment as of broadcast, but Matt wanted the bike back, and he didn't get the bike back as of, yesterday morning.
Yeah, NHRA has always confiscated. Look at them, go over them fine-tooth comb basically, and see, is there something that should be changed? Is there a rule that should be changed? Is there, any kind of part or piece that should be modified? If you can find out exactly what happened, what did work, what didn't work going forward, and then they return the machine to the competitors. I don't know that there's necessarily a timetable for that it happens, in an hour or a day or a week. I don't recall one ever being held on to for more than a couple of 3 days, but I don't have any insight in this particular case.
Yeah, neither do I, and I apologize to everyone out there, but in the just thrash to get going and do a show, reaching out to the NHRA side of things, that's hard reporting, right? As in, go to NHRA, get their stance and position on it, go to Matt's stance and position has been made public on his Facebook page, that he hasn't gotten the bike back and et cetera and so on. But the timeline, all of that, for me, honestly, here on Tuesday at 1:00, I'm eager to just let it play out and see where we are a day from now and the next day from now. And I think all of the facts behind it will reveal itself at one point or another. But unfortunate that there is any kind of, negative issue at all. Since we're in Pro Stock Motorcycle, let's just start there. Matt and Angie, Matt Smith in particular, bringing out the red motorcycle. I was told, Alan, not to use the term Red Rocket on TV. Why do you think that is, Alan?
You tell me. I
don't know. It had something to do with the pet owners in the audience. I don't know. But moving forward, I hate to say that this is what seals the championship for Gaige. What sealed the championship for Gaige is an amazing 8-win season. They have been dominant everywhere all the time. And he's, if he were to lose the championship, it would be a horrific situation that would cause it. But I think now that Matt has got this extra, this is what seals the deal, I think. I don't see anything changing from here on out. Forgive me all for saying it that way, but Gaige Herrera, I think, is going to be your 2023 Camping World Pro Stock Motorcycle Champion, and he's proven why on the track.
Well, I think he's probably going to win it as well, but I would have told you last week that I felt like he was the clear runaway favorite. In essence, this year, the only time he's been beaten is when they've made mistakes, and they being, either Gaige himself or Vance and Hines making a bad call on the motorcycle. They have clearly been the class of the field from a performance standpoint. Matt certainly was pulling out all the stops to try to find a way to slow down the runaway, but I don't know that any of that was going to be effective. I think, Gaige was pretty much the foregone conclusion to win the championship anyway.
Yeah, well, yes. But Matt was trying to make moves to make it entertaining, and I really appreciated that. Like that, Matt Smith, Matt and Angie and Joey and Chip, and they were not going down without a fight. They were going to try to make it entertaining for their fans, to give their fans some hope that and a reason to watch the shows and to follow the sport. Like, that's not lost on me. To the last I grapple with thee. But now that something very serious has happened, I think the championship is very, very secondary in the minds of everyone. It's all about Angie healing up, and that's it. But Gaige Herrera, something I thought was kind of interesting in the final round against Eddie. Eddie, you had great performance. Gaige is over there in the left lane for the first time, and I wanted to try to alert. Turns out they did a coin flip for lane choice, even though Gaige had earned lane choice with better performances all day long, because it was within the team. Andrew told me that they did a washer, and one side said left and one side said right, and they flipped it, and Gaige lost. So the only thing Gaige lost in the whole deal was the coin flip for lane choice. Eddie got lane choice based on that and still got beaten.
Well, and I'm sure that was some good-natured fun. I don't believe that I saw anything all weekend long that said, this lane is 300s better than that one, or this lane is 500s better than that one. But there's always a preference, right? Sometimes it's just mental. Sometimes you just feel more comfortable in one lane or the other. And I'm sure that Eddie probably good-naturedly said something to the effect of, hey, if you're so confident, let me have the lane. And somebody said, well, I'll flip you for it. I mean, again, the team at that point had already won. So there was no downside to them for having a little fun with it and doing it. And, why not? As it turned out, the guy who had the best motorcycle all weekend long won the race to the surprise of absolutely nobody in the place.
All weekend long, all season long. And it's just, we were coming to the conclusion that we probably had made early in the season. It's a 99-point lead over Matt, 126 over Hector Jr., 129 over Eddie, Chase Van Zandt, 208 back. So Angie, 227 back in sixth. Gianna, Steve Johnson, Mark Ingerson, Kelly Klontz, Chris Bostic, Ryan Ayler, the rest of the countdown contenders in Pro Stock motorcycle. And that's the class that is, pretty much we know what's going to happen. The rest wide open. And let's do Pro Stock. Erica does not win 5 in a row at Worldwide Technology Raceway. She was the number 1 qualifier, got through Eric Latino, Fernando Quadra, ran into Greg Anderson again, and Greg beats her again. Goes to the final round against Aaron Stanfield. Other side of the ladder, shocking first round out by Matt Hartford. Hartford loses to a 006 reaction time by Chris McGahey. McGahey gets beaten by Stanfield. Stanfield goes on to the final round. But it's that Erica Enders, Greg Anderson matchup, and Greg, rising to the occasion twice, puts himself right into the middle of the point standings. He is now only 25 out of the lead, which saves the bacon for Hartford and Dallas Glenn. Hartford's 38 out, Dallas Glenn 64 out. Had Erica gone on to win each of the last 2 races, which was certainly possible, and and I don't want to say expected ever, but without Greg Anderson stepping into the breach there, the Pro Stock Championship could be looking very differently.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of racing to go, and Erica has had the quickest car the last couple of events, but she hasn't been, Gaige Herrera dominant by any means. I thought it was interesting what Greg said after the final round when he was interviewed. He said, we might not be outrunning them, but right now we're out racing them. And I thought that was, a very interesting perspective because, like somebody told me a long time ago, there's a lot of guys that know how to go fast, but there's not a lot of guys that know how to win. And sometimes you got to realize that, okay, we may not have as quick a car as they do, but let's make sure that we've got we've taken every advantage we can with changing conditions and various other things. And, Erica's team has made a mistake the last couple of weeks. They squared the tire again. When they let the clutch out, her car basically, was out of control by the time she put it in second gear and the race was over. So the elite guys need to clean that up because they've had that problem on race day a couple of times. And Greg certainly was happy to be there to take advantage of it. Yeah,
Greg 002 against Erica. She's 19, doing her job, of course, but also, I bring them up all the time. The racing gods, right? Like the racing gods, this race got slid across their desk and they're like 002 Greg Anderson. Is that 002 red? Is it 001 red? Is it 002? Okay, send it. Like a 002 light. I feel like fate and the racing gods are involved at some level. That's back-to-back wins now for Greg Anderson. And all of a sudden, this Pro Stock Championship is with 3 races to go. I don't think it could be much more exciting.
No, it's definitely going to be fun to watch going into the last few races here. I think it's interesting to note the last time I just did a quick search back into the archives, and the last time I came across Greg winning back-to-back races was 2019. So, they're going into Texas a little momentum. Greg has had some success down there at the Texas Motorplex. Erica has as well. So will it be a battle between those two, or is Matt Hartford going to come back and bounce back? The 006 light by Chris McGahey, more power to him. But Matt Hartford would be the first one to tell you, you cannot be 089 in a Pro Stock car and expect to win the race, no matter who's in the other lane. And so, Chris stepping up and having a 006 light is terrific. But if Matt does what he should do, be 30 on the tree, be 35 on the tree, then he's got a real good chance of still winning that race.
Yes. Yeah, it's just, I had a text conversation with Matt and he just owned it. Just full on owned it. Just messed up. And different words were used. That's what being in the championship is all about. The man in the arena, right? Like we can sit from the sidelines, but until you're staging up there. But if you want to win the Camping World Series Championship, you can't do that. And I think they know that. And it could be much worse right now than 38 points out of the lead. And it all depends on how they choose to look at it with 3 races to go. The way I would look at it is if you make a deal with anyone at the start of the season before the Gator Nationals, like, hey, with 3 races left to go, you'll be within 38 points of the championship. You going to take that deal? I think most would, but we'll see as it plays out as we head to Dallas, a place that Matt has run very well. But it can go in any direction. And I'm not willing to count out Aaron Stanfield, 73 points out of the lead, right? This kid is he's had a fast car all year, just has not really had the brakes go his way. If the brakes all of a sudden start to go his way, he's going to be in the fight down to that final race, especially with 1.5 points at Pomona.
Yeah, Pomona is really the big equalizer. You just need to be in the fight when you get to Pomona. You know, Greg proved that last year when nobody really had him penciled in to do anything, but he won Pomona and vaulted all the way to second in the points. So that gives you an idea. Just, put me in striking distance going into Pomona. I'd certainly rather be up than down, but if I'm within 50 points going into Pomona, I still feel confident that I have a chance to win this thing if I do my job.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'll bring us to Funny Car here, where I had a conversation with Dean Antonelli at the start of the weekend, working NHRA on Fox. I have to go talk to everyone as best as I can just to get their mindset. And I was like, hey, start of the countdown could have been better. He goes, yeah, but he goes, last year, we're 69 points out. Last year, we were 61 out going into the final race. There's so much racing left to go. I'm not worried at all. It's like, solid. All right. And sure enough, they went out and proved it. Lost in the final round to Hagan. But if there was any doubt, that Funny Car is a category of the big 4. You've got 4 racers who are commonly referred to as the big 4 within 33 points. Chad Green, who has had a great season, 152 out in 5th. So to me, it's clearly among the big 4. Tasca leads Height by 6, Hagan by 13, and Caps by 33. And that thing just got closer at St. Louis.
Well, the beauty of Funny Car was when qualifying was all over with, Bob Tasca, Robert Height, Matt Hagan, John Force, Cruz Pedregon, all on the same side of the ladder. And, they were going to be out there beating each other's brains out. While I'm not saying Ron Capps had a cakewalk on the other side of the ladder, but he was the only one of the big 4 on the other side of the ladder. He took care of his business all the way to the final round. And Matt Hagan, they just need to keep doing what they're doing. Keep in mind, in Reading and in Charlotte, if you add up their 2 losses, it was less than 0.02 of a second total. So it's not like they're, smoking the tires. It's not like they're lost. It's not like they don't have their performance. They've been losing those really, really tight races. And, I saw Dickie Venables in the airport in Charlotte. It's like, what am I going to do differently? Nothing. I'm going to take my car up there. I will put my money on my driver every damn time to go get his job done. We're going to keep doing this, and it is going to start paying off because we're too good a car and too good a team. And then obviously they come in here and it paid off. Yeah.
What are you going to do differently, right? Like one was 1/10,000th of a second.
Right.
But to me, though, I like to always make these analogies to what we would call mainstream or stick and ball sports, having spent a lot of time over there early in my career working in the sports radio stations. The ball that's going to the wall, that maybe it gets caught and maybe the guy brings it back, or maybe it goes over or it hits his glove and ends up as a home run. Like whatever controls that from happening, like that's the same thing in a 1/10,000th of a second race at Maple Grove that just changes everything. And people should embrace that. That's sports. That's the beauty of sports. Sometimes you can do everything absolutely right and still lose because of the way it is, the world, the cosmos forces.
And that's exactly right. Sometimes you do everything exactly right and you still lose. And sometimes you could go up there and tie your shoelaces together and somehow you still win. I mean, it just, the racing gods or fate or whatever you want to call it, sometimes you can't do anything right. Sometimes you can't do anything wrong. When you get on a roll where everything's falling your direction, man, ride the wave and enjoy every second of it, because at some point that wave is going to crash on top of your head. And so you got to enjoy it while you can.
And anybody who's played blackjack at all knows that either. Like, you're doing it, they're playing the right way. You're just doing the same thing every time. And sometimes you go on a run and there's nothing can stop you. And then sometimes you just can't do anything. You're doing it all right. And the dealer is like, 11, 15, 17, 21. And you're a loser. And there's nothing you could do. And that's, if we could figure that energy out, we would be billionaires, but we cannot. Chad Green, I want to say, wow, the racing gods, they really zapped him this time. Parachute comes out. He almost wins toe in the chute, which could have potentially changed the game. They were running real well out there, but loses to Alex Laughlin. And, who knows what the second round matchup against Caps would have been, but it would have definitely changed things. Caps runs Wilk. Wilk has one of the best runs in the left lane. First round, gets beaten. Then Caps runs Alex Laughlin, beats him, and then goes on to the final round. But Chad Green, toe in the chute, that's something that's going to stick in my mind for a while because it was pretty cool.
But Chad Green still has a really good car. Sometimes you just put it behind you and you move on. I think, Bob Tasca is for real. Anybody that didn't think so, if you're not a believer now, tell me what you got to do. Tell me what he's got to do to convince you. Because that car and that team is absolutely for real. It's going to be fun just watching them come down. If we have good weather in Texas next week, I know you're going to be here all week for the Stampede of Speed. But if we have good weather for the Nationals, and then we have good weather out west, put them in throwdown conditions and let them all throw down. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see those four all having to try to tiptoe and see who can run the best 405. I want to see them in conditions where, everybody's saying, hold my beer and watch this, because I think that's what the fans want to see as well.
I like that also. That definitely caters to the big teams and the big four where, and again, I started saying this, I think we were trying to get you connected. There are some people in our sport that just hate the idea that some teams are just better than other teams. And when we say the big four, people are aggravated by it, or they're aggravated at me by it, right? The big four, you're saying that there's four teams that are better. But has there ever been a time that you can recall, Alan, where four top teams were at their best, at the best that they've been, personnel wise, funding wise, sponsorship wise, technology wise, driver wise, like every aspect of each of these teams? Robert and Jimmy, John Force Racing, Chevrolet. Tasca puts together Aaron Brooks, Todd Okahara with Ford. Highly motivated, running well. Like, there's no weakness. Like, what's the weakness on the weakest of the big four? You tell me. I can't think of it. Caps, two-time and back-to-back champion. It's amazing what we're seeing. And then there's Hagan and Venables, a team that has been together that, all for one for all. They've got everything that they need. Everyone is at maximum with no known weaknesses. It's just about the competition and how they do on a given day. I don't remember it being like that. Last year we had 3. Now we have 4.
Agreed. And, for anybody that wants to make an argument about it, okay, show me your facts and make your argument. But those 4 cars have done the best job this year. There are certainly other teams out there that have the budget, that have the personnel, that have the parts, but they simply have not been able to execute on a regular basis at that level. And if anybody wants to argue with me about that, like I said, show me your facts. I can show you who's qualifying number 1. I can show you who's setting low ET. I can show you who's winning the races. I can show you who's got the points. Now, if you can make an argument that some other team is doing just as good a job, please show me your facts, because I'm not seeing them.
Yeah. And I think look, I get it. This is not like football where we can cut a player off a team and there's 10 guys ready to fill his spot. You can't cut out a team and just fill him with the next guy up, because it's so hard just to make it to the track, to get sponsorship, to put together a team of people who are knowledgeable enough to go out there and not embarrass themselves in the NHRA. It's hard to just arrive at the racetrack with a car, period. But when it comes to championship contention, I think the points are telling the tale. And very excited. The 3-race race going to the championship with those three racers. And I can't handicap it. Like, I couldn't tell you who's gonna do it. Top Fuel, Clay Millican. It's Illinois, obviously, right? Jimmo in Illinois. That's the only continuous thread. Like, you got them both in Illinois. Takes down Leah Pruitt, Neil Strasbaugh. Neil told me something at the start of the weekend I wanted to share with everybody. I'm over there working them for just thoughts, ideas, things, and he said, look, he goes, our team is really chill right now. He goes, we're very chill because we want to be the team that goes up there knowing that we're going to win, not the team that's hoping we're going to win. And we've really worked hard to get to this place. And he goes, I feel really good about our chances. And sure enough, they take out Doug, they go to the final, and they are just a couple of points out of the lead in spite of Doug Coletta winning the first two races. Leah's 47 back, Torrence 51 back, Justin 77 back, Antron 96 back. They are all still in the mix with 3 to go.
Well, you look at what Leah did last weekend. I mean, she beat Sean Langdon, then she beat Doug Coletta, then she beat Steve Torrence. And then she came up a little bit short in the final round, but that is a really good race car that they have right now. And, I don't see them slowing down any. They need to minimize mistakes. And they know that as well as anybody, but they've got a good race car. When your car's running well, that gives the driver confidence. And, that's not an easy out. I think that, they're certainly going to be around for the long haul. Doug Coletta, we'll see what his bounce back is in Dallas. But I still, if I had a handicap right now, I think I would give Doug Coletta a slight, and I mean slight, advantage in the championship. And everybody else is pretty much a coin flip.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about, and I'm wondering, like, okay, Justin Ashley dominated the regular season. The start of his countdown could only be a little bit worse than it is, right? Like, he's won a couple of rounds, I think 2 second rounds and a first round. 3 first round outs would be worse. So it's been pretty much a nightmare, but yet and still 77 points out is manageable. So it all depends on how you want to look at it. It would be much better if they had stormed through and won all the races, but to find yourself 77 points out after starting off terribly, if they can get it turned around in Dallas, a track that they have won past couple of years, they can still factor in. They can still win the championship.
We talked at the beginning of the countdown to the championship, we talked about, favorites this, and it's like, let's run the first 3 and then reset and see. And what we're seeing now is that there really isn't, in my mind anyway, a clear-cut favorite in Top Fuel. There are 4 or 5 cars that have a legitimate shot at it. And like I said a minute ago, if I had to handicap, I would give Doug the slight advantage, but I don't think that he's, I wouldn't put him 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 above everybody else. I think that he has a slight advantage, but I don't think that there's anybody out there that I would count out as of now. I'm not crossing anybody off the list that's in that top 4 or 5.
Okay, what about, and I'm putting you on the spot, and I'll answer this question too, Brittany Force, 138 out in 7th, behind all of those racers, which is really the complicating factor.
Yeah, I think that does she mathematically have a chance to win? Yes. Does she realistically have a chance to win? Not in my mind.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what I feel also. And it's, but if any team can rattle off 3 in a row, like they could, they've shown it, they've done it, but talking about it is one thing, having it actually happen to win 3 in a row. And even if they did win 3 in a row, they would need help from other people, multiple. Like, all those other racers would have to fall by the wayside in some sort of fantastic order and all have real tough races at the same time. Seems unlikely for Brittany, but you never know. And I don't know if I feel comfortable counting them out. But I agree. I think Antron Brown in 5th is where the last real legit championship hopeful lies. But again, 1.5 points, In-N-Out Burger finals, that changes everything. And whoever, if they feel upset by being counted out, go get it done on the racetrack. And it's as simple as that. How about Pro Modified? Yeah, Justin, I need you to, Jordan Lassick, come out and race this car because, you've tested it before and you're going to help. Oh, yeah, you won. First race, first entry, he wins.
I think Justin Bond loaned the wrong horse, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you need the guy to come out and run as a blocker, why don't you put him in the screw blower car, and why don't you get back in the Pro Charger car that you had so much success with earlier in the year? That's, I think, what I would have done. But hey, he's won more races than I have, and he's made more money in business than I have. So who am I to argue with his choices? Yeah,
well, exactly. But JR, with the marquee matchup, JR Gray takes him out in the first round. And so the point standings are looking kind of interesting with just one race to go. That's Vegas. We'll be talking about that. But I don't know. Pro Mod is just wild. It's a wild category, and I'm enjoying their playoff. By the way, Justin Bond answered your question on the starting line about which car he's going to be running at the final race. He told me he's running the screw, like that. He'll be running the screw. I tried to turn on the microphone, though. It was turned off.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see if that turns out to be a wise or a not so wise choice.
Yes, exactamundo. Other winners, pretty interesting. Your thoughts. St. Louis, we saw Ronnie Bond win comp, first-time winner. Jay Story, first-time winner. Tyler Bohannon, he's running a race down there right now. Winning stock, Trinae, Crisoni, and Super Comp. Nene. Al Gavlosky, first-time winner in Super Gas. That was cool. Chad Peckrell and Right Trailer's top sportsman. Mark Powick, the Cowboy, finally gets that return win in FlexJet Factory Stock Showdown. What stood out in your mind, Alan, and we had all our ET winners as well, but as you think of the Lucas Oil Series winners, we had quite a few first-time winners, but some big names, including the first 200-mile-per-hour run in a Factory X presented by Holly car by Alan Johnson.
Yeah, those are the two that really stood out to me were the Factory Showdown and Factory X. Mark Powick, qualifying number one, running in the 750s, which has never been done before at an NHRA event and under NHRA rules, and then running the table for his first national event win since 2001 when he did it in Pro Stock. That one certainly stood out. And the other one was Alan Johnson and Jeff Turk's car. I mean, the BES guys have been doing the engines for that thing. And for all that team has been through, to come back out, to run 200 miles an hour, not just once, but twice, proving it wasn't a fluke, and to get the win, I thought was pretty special. So, yeah, 202.55, that's 10 grand from Jessel for being the first one to do that. And, that class is really generating a lot of interest and a lot of excitement on a lot of fronts. So I just look forward to more cars getting out there on the racetrack. But first-time winners are always special, but those two really stood out to me.
Yeah. Well, what's happening in FlexJet Factory Showdown has been amazing. And remember that staging duel / burn down that happened between Cowboy and Connor Statler. Cowboy said that fired him up. He got fired up by that. Who's this punky kid trying to do this to me? I'll show him, teach him a lesson. And they were both great. They were both good on the tree. They both had great runs. That rarely happens after a minute 40 staging duel. And I think it just got everybody focused on what was to come. That class is great right now, and Factory X, we can see it is going to be great.
I agree. And I know that you did a piece, I think it's up on NHRA.com, going over to Jerry Haas's shop, or maybe you've got it on linked on WFO, talking about, the new cars that are being built, the things that are happening out there. There's a lot of excitement about that class. And, all we need is more and more and more. And it's just going to get better and better and better.
Yes, absolutely. Final thought. I know you got divisional racing out there, so you're going to be hanging in St. Louis. We'll let you go, but just serve us up a little wisdom before you leave.
Well, looking forward to the race this weekend. One of the other things that happened this weekend, it maybe not if it didn't hit all the radar, the Killer Bees won out in Virginia. They had a regional event down there at Virginia Motorsports Park, so they are still in full fight mode, trying to track down Doug Gordon for the championship. They came up a little bit short the week before, but were able to go down to Virginia and get a trophy and add some more points to their total. So that one looks like it's going to go down to the wire as well.
Yes, very exciting. This is as Pat Riley once said, it's winning time. It's winning time right now. 3 races to go. Who will step up and show that they are deserving of the championship accolades. That will probably mean that others will be heartbroken and thinking back to this year for the rest of their lives, what might have been maybe a learning opportunity for the future, maybe their last. We just don't know. And that's why everybody should watch and tune in and log on and be a part of it. Alan, great job as usual. Great work out there in St. Louis. I love that track, by the way. Curtis and you and myself having a little conversation on the rooftop after it was all over, after what was a challenging weekend. Thank goodness for Chris Monahan coming out, being so helpful. But that made it all right. Kind of hanging out with Curtis up on top and just talking a little bit about his passion. I don't think there is an owner out there who, like, he knew he saved racing in a region of our country. Like he was deliberate about it. Not like, hey, I'll invest in this thing and maybe whatever, we'll keep it going. They got a plan going there, and it's going to get better and better at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm actually having dinner with Curtis and Chris Blair tonight, so I'm looking forward to continuing that conversation a little bit before we get into the racing. But no, it's a good track. It's a great community. They love their motorsports here. And, what Curtis has been able to do, not just saving the drag strip, is huge. The IndyCar guys come in here. That's huge. They've got plans to do a whole lot more stuff out here, so it's going to continue to grow. But it's forward to it. It's going to be a fun week to hang out, and hopefully we'll have good weather for the next 4 or 5 days and good racing out here for the division and regional. There's actually a double here this week.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, forward my best to the guys. Appreciate you. And next week, I will be in Dallas. I'm actually headed out there on Thursday for the Stampede of Speed. We're going to do the cattle drive and the whole thing. I don't know exactly what we're going to do for a show next week. We're going to do something, and I will let you know. So we'll see each other next week one way or another.
All right. Well, I will be home next Tuesday, my first day home in 3 weeks. And so I will be available. Whatever you need to do, just let me know.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Safe travels.
All right, Joe. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
There he goes. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhardt, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. And yeah, normally you can see his face, but in this case, you could hear he was driving. It worked much better. And who was it? It was Jim Essex who says, well, it just takes the internet to do both. How's it any different? And the answer is, like if the internet is a pipe, okay, to push video through the pipe is much more challenging than it is to push audio only. Audio only can go through the pipe real easy. Video is a lot more challenging. It's just a lot more data. And so it's less reliable right now. But as time goes by and we continue to improve our nation's infrastructure, internet in particular, especially in places that are kind of off the beaten path, that will and has gotten much better. Remember the time where cell service in the middle of nowhere was awful? And now, the drop-offs are very rare. And that's what's going to happen with, video internet at some point. At some point, it's going to be everywhere. But, that takes time and money. It takes time and money. All right. I want your comments in the comment section, guys. Like, let's just, let's kick it around a little bit. Like what we just saw, where we are at. Like Ant Dog a little bit earlier says that don't count out Chad Green. Chad Green is his dark horse pick to win the championship. And that is definitely a dark horse pick, and I appreciate it. I would love to see Chad Green do that. I like Chad and I like Daniel Wilkerson, and I think they're two of the most dynamic, new, fresh personalities in all of drag racing. But they're 152 points out of the lead, 120 something out of fourth, and they would have to beat and pass Bob Tasca, Robert Height, Matt Hagan, and Ron Capps to do it. What's that going to take? Like even 3 wins in a row to win out for Chad Green, like gets his first win, his second win, and his third win consecutively with 1.5 points at the Auto Club, the In-N-Out Burger finals at In-N-Out Burger drag strip. Like, I think someone could do all the permutations of the math, but Robert and Capps and Hagan and Tasca are going to go to the semifinals in some of those races. And are they going to be able to, is it possible to track all 4 of them down? Like if all 4 of them lost first round in each of those 3 races, then I guess it's possible. But seems very unlikely. Like, that's the difference. That's what I'm talking about here when we get to winning time. When we get to winning time, at some point, math and analytics take over. Like, you're watching Texas Hold'em poker on television, and a guy's got, like, he's got a hand and it's 98% to 2%. They don't have equal chances to win. And someone might watch the TV and say, yeah, but he's got a 2% chance and he could win. He could. And we've certainly seen it happen. But in the end, the math is a guideline. 98% chance. So you could watch it 100 times, and 2 out of the 100, the guy's going to flip the card that he wins. And he wins, and he's a winner. I knew it all along. And he can say whatever he wants. Yeah, I felt it. I knew it. It was going to happen. I knew it all along. But math is real. The odds, the possibility, the probability. And so for Chad and for Daniel, as much as that would be the most amazing thing that anybody ever saw, Chad Green wins out 3 races. The opponents in front of him, they're all stumbling and they're falling to pieces, and he goes on and wins the championship. It would be the most memorable championship in NHRA history. In terms of probability is low. The probability of that happening is low, which is why it would be the most memorable championship comeback in history. Let's see. Lauren says, do you think Brittany Force gets a win this season in 2023? NHRA drag racing and drag racing in general is so different. It's so different the way the talking heads talk about it. And Brian Loans and Tony Pedregon on the NHRA Insider podcast are probably doing the best job of emulating Stephen A. Smith and those guys who, just say what they believe is in the moment. Say what they believe is in the moment without worry about retribution or anger from the athletes, because they'll never see them anyway. In NHRA, we see them. David Grubnick and Brittany Force won the championship last year in incredible dominant fashion and have not won a race the following year. That is just a fact. Now, in mainstream sports coverage, they would be like really questioned. David Grubnick and Brittany Force are not really being questioned because, first of all, everybody knows they could win 3 in a row. It could turn on a dime, and nobody wants to look foolish calling out Grubnick. Like they changed the whole tune-up after winning a championship. Like, why did they do that? Nobody wants to say that because you know it's coming, right? It's coming. When's it going to happen? Is it going to be Vegas and Pomona? Is it going to be Dallas, Vegas, and Pomona? What's going to happen? When are they going to come out? When are they going to unleash? Maybe they will. They probably will, or maybe they won't. And so we just watch because we know what they're capable of, and they've earned that level of respect with what they've done in the past. So I'm going to say, yes, I think Brittany Force is going to get a win before the season is over. But to this point, they have not. They have not. It has not been an amazing title defense. Eddie, what do you think max points behind do you feel is too much with 3 races to go? And the answer is, with 1.5 points at Pomona, it's very difficult to say. Because when your opponent goes out first round, they're not getting points. It's not like NASCAR where everybody's getting points and they're getting a pretty good chunk of points. And the worst thing that can happen is you finish last. All right, then you're in trouble. But the big 4 going out first round, what's the probability? Low. Could it happen? And then everybody's like, yeah, see, we told you. It could. So it's hard to say, but I think it's more about how many racers are in front of you, between you and where you want to go, than the points. And that's why, like 152 back for Chad Green, I feel like that's the number. It's 4 racers racing in funny car. I would call it 100 points. Like Mike Salinas, 124 out of the lead in 6th. They're capable of winning races. They're capable of winning multiple races. But Doug Coletta, Leah Pruitt, Steve Torrence, Justin Ashley, and Antron Brown will all have to falter and get passed by them. That's what seems unlikely. That 100-point number, triple digits, that feels like a good number. For instance, Pro Stock, Erica, over by 25 over Greg, by 38 over Hartford, by 64 over Dallas, by 73 over Aaron Stanfield. Erica could get clipped first round by somebody. Anybody could get beaten first round by anyone in Pro Stock. Anyone can get beaten first round by anyone. In the nitro categories, it's not exactly like that. There are some runs where people are like, well, we know that they're only capable of running a 79, and so we'll set up for a 77, and the driver will go equal in reaction time, and we'll win. You can have those kind of strategies. Pro Stock, it's not exactly like that. It's a little bit tighter when you got 16 cars. And my example, Hartford, of course, going 80-something. That's an anomaly. But so is Chris McGahey going 006. Getting everything he could on the starting line and winning. Except it happened. And that can happen again, and it can happen again and again. And if Erica keeps going number 1, she'll keep running the number 16 qualifier. And so other teams are going to have to step up their qualifying performance. Because it appears that Erica it does have the fastest car right now in the moment. Let's see. Mark Jones, hey, Joe and Alan, I'm at St. Louis waiting for first round of the Tyler Bohannon race. Awesome. Yeah, they're running for big money out there. Way to go, Tyler. Tyler wins in stock, and now he's promoting a race, which is cool. I hear it's $10,000 to win in competition eliminator. And what a smart thing to do, to promote a race in the middle of a week where all the racers are already there, right? Like, you don't have to market to get them there. They're already there. And they're going to be there, the ones that weren't there already, and they're all just set up, and the track is not doing anything. So, hey, how about we run a race, and we pay a whole bunch of money to win? Tyler is sharp kid. I don't know how old he is, but. Left lane looked weaker after top fuel round 1. If not NHRA, great reprep. Why? Crew chief over anxiety. I felt like first of all, for Pro Stock, the left lane was better regardless. Yeah, it took some time to come back after Lex's incident, but all the higher qualified cars took the right lane. So they're higher qualified for a reason. They're faster, and they took the right lane, and the left lane was a little bit of an issue. You saw Wilkerson go down it. Wilkerson outran Caps down there, got beaten on a hole shot. He was disappointed. But, Wilkerson was able to figure it out, but that was the last pair down after the incident. There is not, to my knowledge, and any of my Safety Safari friends out there, if you want to correct me on this, but there is not, to my knowledge, a way to make the track absolutely as it was before the first run after a major oil down. Like, that's not how it works. There's, it has to almost to heal. Right? Like, they re-prep it and they get everything. But what makes it right is cars going down the track, and it kind of comes back. These lanes are like a living thing, really. They are like a living thing. That's why when the Pro Mod hit the wall, Dimitri, and he told me that he believed that he had an axle problem because he was going and it just hard right into the wall, breaks the fuel cell, fuel all over the track, and it ate the traction compound. So now you got a couple of spots which are totally different. So they had to clean it up, put the rosin down, and then they had to, bring it back to life. And then the track had to heal. They did a great job. The Safari, here's where I come down. Given their track record, especially when they have time to do it, they've done a great job 98% of the time. There's been a couple of moments this year that were really challenging. We exploded a transmission in Sonoma, and it was synthetic transmission fluid, from what I understand, that lasted for a couple of days before the lane healed. And I don't know that there's anybody that can get that perfect immediately. Talking about things that can knock you out. Product failure. Trust me, I know, says Earl. Way to go, Earl. Yeah. Well, right. The 50-cent part. There's nothing 50 cents on these cars anymore. Call it the $15 part or the $60 part. We've seen those break. We don't know what's going to factor in, but I don't think a $15 part is going to break on all of the big four. But you never know. We've seen a rash of head studs breaking. Head studs breaking in the pits. Been like a little odd that has happened, but it has happened. A couple of teams. Tony Schumacher's team. You think about Bob Tasca out there in Charlotte right before the final. They were torquing the heads, snapped a head stud, had to replace the whole short block. Same happened with Tony Schumacher here, except they didn't have time to refire it. It happened so late in the deal, they didn't have time to refire it, and of course, they got bounced. Now, I don't know how often head studs break when they're torquing them. Billy says, I'm surprised they haven't put Grubby on a new project. Most feared AT and Speed, least feared on race day. See, I think that's over-exaggerating. Least feared, the guy's world champion, just so you know. Like world champion last year, very feared on race day, which is why nobody has said anything. Like he's a mad scientist. That's the thing about being a mad scientist is you're mad. It's not like the logical, balanced scientist. They don't make movies about that guy. 1 through 5 and top fuel wide open. Agree. Good job, Uncle Tony, for Powick's dominance. Yes. David Barton is tuning that car. In the computer system, it had said AJ was tuning the car, and that was like a remnant from a couple of years ago. And it got said right earlier in the year, and then got said wrong a couple of times this weekend, but we corrected it and went into the computer system. But here's the deal. Note to all racers, you have control of your tech card. You just go to the internet, you fill it out, and people are telling us that they've got jobs as proctologists and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff on there, and then it becomes on the announcer to determine whether or not that's right or it's wrong. I disagree with that too, right? But any racer who has not gone into his tech card and made it updated as of right now, including and especially the Camping World Series racers, it's on you. It's on you. No offense. Mark was like, no problem. But I felt bad that David Barton didn't get the instant credit for tuning the first 50 run in FlexJet Factory Stock Showdown. I'm pretty sure that got mentioned incorrectly first. And I know I mentioned it incorrectly in first round and once in time runs. And that's on me. But at the same time, when you're looking at something and it keeps coming up wrong, and then it becomes right. What do they say about a lie? You just say it over and over again and it becomes true. And that's what happened. But we got it dialed in. But again, if you're a Lucas Oil Series racer, a Camping World Series racer, and you haven't put in the 5 minutes to just go look at what's in your computer and make sure it's right, especially the Camping World guys, because that's all wrong, man. It's all wrong. You go in there. I've called enough Camping World Racing to look at that stuff. Reinhart, first thing he ever told me, don't trust the computer. Just don't trust it. But that was back when information was like on paper and you had to like put it in, and it wouldn't always get put in. It would get put in at the start of the season. If there was a mid-season change, then it would become off. There's stuff that's 2 and 3 years old in there, and the racers are not, you're willing to send a text. Just go to the computer, man. Go to the internet. What's in there? You got a staff half the time anyway. Like everybody should do that. I'm not calling out anyone. Just saying, if you want it to be right, help. And thank you to Mark Powick, and obviously Powick's a buddy, and congratulations. Let's see. WFO, sorry I'm late. We'll have to go back and watch. Dispatching, not driving today. Okay, way to go, Derek. We're going to see Clay soon. I don't know. Clay is probably going to do his own thing. Me getting ready, this might be the last show of the week for me. That's why I'm spending a little extra time. We did Ignition, we did this, but I'm getting ready to do 11 days in Dallas, which requires a lot of work behind the scenes. 11 days at the Stampede of Speed. Hopefully you got your free tickets and you're ready to go. And our big WFO Patreon meetup is going to be happening. And Dave and Sue Morris are going to be heading out there. We got Patreons from Canada. We got Patreons from all around the world that are going to be in Dallas for the Stampede of Speed. Friday night, Scott Palmer. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a cattle drive, country concerts, Saturday and Sunday. Monday, media race. I was invited to participate in the media race. Okay. I was invited to be a driver in the media race at the Stampede of Speed. Champions Dinner Wednesday night. If you haven't gotten your tickets, individual tickets are on sale. Are they sold out already? Like maybe they are. But if you're a WFO listener, you should make the effort. Certainly all our Patreons. We're going to have a bunch of them there. Marvin Rodak just announced RodaksCoffeeandGrills.com. Going to be on board with Camry Caruso's Pro Stocker this weekend. I just read the press release. Am I ahead of the press release? Oops. You just heard a little breaking news. Camry Caruso and RodaksCoffeeandGrills.com partnering at the Fall Nationals, the Stampede of Speed. Scooped it by mistake. 817-924-6821. Call Marvin and order your special Stampede of Speed blend of coffee. You can enjoy it while we're all out there racing. Frank Hawley's drag racing school. It was pretty cool seeing Cody Crone out there. Kid's 19 years old. I asked Larry Dixon who he reminds him of. He's like Jeb Allen, Top Fuel teenager. Super cool. But he got started with Frank Hawley. And you can drive dragsters with Frank Hawley as well. Go to frankhawley.com to check out the dragster adventure. And I'm telling you, it makes the best gift for the holidays. Don't waste your time even thinking. Just spend the money for the drag racing fan or aficionado in your life and send them on the dragster adventure wherever is most convenient for them. And then there's samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. I'm sure we'll see a bunch of Samtech cars down there for the full week at the Stampede of Speed. Big fan fest on Thursday night, by the way. Be sure to be there. Not this Thursday, next Thursday. But if you're interested in becoming a machinist, an engine builder, Connor Statler graduated from Samtech. Look what he's doing right now. He wants to be a racer and he's being a racer. But there's people in SpaceX. There's people in NASA. There's people in the machine shops who all have graduated from Samtech. They're approved to train veterans under the GI Bill. If you're thinking about for yourself or maybe your son or daughter, reach out to Brian Massengill. Tell him you heard about it on WFO and evolve the conversation. And speaking of our Patreon, our VIP membership, pretty amazing how it has grown. And now, if you sign up for a year, and we just had a yearly sign up yesterday, which was super cool. I get a message. Everybody who signs up for a year, you get a t-shirt, you get the decals, right? I'm going to throw in, of course, the WFO hero card as if anyone wants it. It's really just a way for people to scan the QR code and find the show. How do I get that? There it is. Scan the QR code, baby. But join our Patreon VIP listener club. You get all kinds of great stuff. Most of the time, you get to be a co-host on the Ignition show, not last night, however. But to me, the best thing we got going right now, in addition to the Monday motivation and just the community, is the Hear It From Heiner Pro Stock show. This is the absolute inside the aorta of Pro Stock. Whether it be the rivalries, what it takes, the situation, the championship, the stuff we can talk about that isn't going to be detrimental to his own race-winning hopes. Michael Heiner has attacked it all. And it's also just a fun conversation. But that's for Patreon only. Patreon only. And you know who decided that? The Patreons. They're their own little civilization in there. Their own democracy. Like, hey, should we make this open to the regular audience? And they were all like, no. Congratulations to Dragster Jeff on winning the Drag Race Bracket Bonanza overall. Dragster Jeff got the job done. The first week it was Dugenay. Second week it's Dragster Jeff, who is the big winner. And he is a WFO Patreon, which is why he's getting accolades here. And here is your last chance to get free tickets for the Stampede of Speed. You want to get that one real quick. Couple other comments. Let's see what you got to say, and then we're going to bounce up on out of here. Doug Gordon. Great show as always. Thank you, guys. Championship fight coming down to the wire. It's winning time. It's winning time. Let's see. Oh, Life's a Drag is out there. Don't count out the low zone. I lost $200 at the casino in St. Louis, but I plan on rallying back in Vegas. Yeah, I was there. How does a man lose $200 so rapidly? I lost $20 very rapidly. And I blame, Had to see the casino, right? Like, what are we going to let's see the casino? Open the door, and it was like walking into a wall of smoke. Just, oh man. And so suddenly, like life programming, like survival mode kicks in. You're getting about 30% less oxygen, and all the brain function goes right out the window. Good job, Lozone. Yeah, save it for Vegas, baby. Vegas. Everybody's already talking about Vegas, how amazing it is. I want to go see that sphere. I want to go see the sphere. Has everybody seen the video from inside the sphere? Oh my gosh, that's incredible. They say people are getting vertigo. As soon as I saw that, I knew I wanted to do it. Everyone, oh, people are passing out? All right, let's get in there. The thing is moving, and it's amazing. Amazing. Jim Essex. Yeah, megabytes, kilobytes. The video is always harder, which is why I did an audio-only podcast until the net caught up, which they did. Andy Shoemaker. Hey, Joe, Alan interviewed a Bob while in the announcer booth Saturday. This Bob wrote books. What's his name again? Yeah, Bob Wilbur, The Lost Manuscript. Bob Wilbur, friend of WFO, who will eventually be on this thing, The Lost Manuscript that he wrote. Can you imagine? I wrote a whole book and then I lost it. And then it wasn't that great. Just forget about it. And then he found it again. And they put it out. It's actually very interesting. By the way, from what I understand, Dragster Jeff gets one of those from Drag Race Bracket Bonanza for winning. So maybe you should just play Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, Andy Shoemaker. Scott. Jason, I think you're a better entertainer than a gambler. Oh, burn. Yeah. And maybe not even. But Art. WFO always makes everybody feel better in the drag racing community. Get me some WFO radio. Great show as usual. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Art, for being so positive and wonderful. And that is totally not true. There are people that hate this show like vile poison. Vile poison. Scott. Let's hope Steve can win on home turf. Let's see at the Motorplex next week. Yeah, let's talk Steve Torrence for a second. Let's talk Steve Torrence. 4-time world champion. 51 points out of the lead. Watch out for them Capco boys. Just saying. This is not over by any means. They have not yet. They've been consistent all year long. That's been their move. Not a lot of race wins, but consistent semifinals and final rounds. And we all know that's what it takes to win. So Steve Torrence goes to Dallas, wins the race. Watch out. All of a sudden, the Capco boys are in the conversation. And the Doug Coletta thing, 47 points up on Leah. Doug is as hungry as anyone can be. Doug is going to do a good job behind the wheel. But I feel, just as a fan, just like as a person who's there, I feel anxiety. I feel anxiety, but for myself, not for them. They're world championship drivers. They're good. They've got great lives. They're going to live wonderfully, regardless of what happens. But the PTSD that goes with the heartbreak of the past, I feel it. We played the video of the run like 50,000 times up on Sunoco Vision, and I've watched it. And every time I feel the horrible terror that goes along with it, because no one likes to lose like that. And so, are they going to break free of that moment? They're 47 points up. One thing we did not, nobody thought that anybody was going to win all 6 races. It was not going to come easy for anybody. We know that. It's not coming easy. It's not going to be easy. Yeah, we were going to win all 6 races and just become champ. Yeah, no. There was going to be anxiety. It's going to get tough. It's going to get much tougher than it is right now. And that's what the NHRA Countdown is for. That's why it exists. And that's why hopefully people watch. Yeah, Jeff, trying to get people to turn off. Tyler's race is live on Motor Mania right now. Yeah, I'll do that after the show. We're almost done. That's why the numbers were only, triple digits today. Somebody should get on there and advertise WFO. It can't be me because that's, too self-serving. Right? Hello. Richard says, except Doug Coletta. I don't know exactly what that was referring to because I'm a little behind. Is that true? Billy says the left lane at Indy is far from healed. It's still pushing gear oil out even today. That's what they tell me. That's what they tell me. Like the crew chiefs and even people, that gear oil can take months to come out of the track. Months. Which is why, like I was shouted down when I said that it should be the death penalty for anyone who leaves the rear end cover off. And I guess it was a little too extreme to suggest that the person should lose their pinky finger publicly on the starting line by way of cleaver. I get it. But here we are weeks later. There's gear oil still in the track and in the rubber. And that's what everyone tells me, that it lasts forever. Really enjoy seeing you on Fox on the top end. Will we see more WFO Joe for TV for the next 3 races? The answer is unknown. I don't know that. I think that the last 2, Charlotte and St. Louis, I had some really good efforts and enjoyed the heck out of it. And I am here to help the team, whether it be whether and however, wherever, whatever, like the W Hotel, wherever, whatever, whenever. And they tell me to go somewhere and I go there. And when I'm there, I do as good a job as I'm capable of. And that's it. And I love the sport of drag racing. And I want to try really hard to bring out the inside of the sport. Some people are not happy about that, right? But I feel like got to ask the questions best as I can. Parks is flying to Dallas on Wednesday night, next Wednesday night, right? Not this Wednesday night. Safe travels on Stampede of Speed. Tequila and coffee. Interesting. Yeah, right? Free tickets time has expired. A friend of mine tried this morning. Oops. Oh, well. Awesome show as always. Have a great time at Stampede of Speed. Yes, we will. My copy of the last manuscript is scheduled to be delivered tomorrow. Bob is a great guy. Bob is a great guy. Bob Wilbur was, when I was just kind of coming out there as WFO, or prior to when I was on XM satellite radio, he was very helpful in 100 different ways. And he's, like life on the road is very tough, guys. Life on the road is very tough, traveling all the time. Everybody thinks it's all, puppy dogs and ice cream. And it would be if you could just beam there like Star Trek, but getting there is a great challenge. Like me getting locked in my own office 2 minutes before I had to leave and having to punch my way out of there. Missed the show today, busy at work. I'll listen to the pod version later. Brooks here is right. The podcast version is still by far the most listened to version of WFO Radio. Apple Podcast, please write us a review. Give us some stars. Share the shows. You can find every subscription possible at our website, WFOradio.com. Every subscription possible. YouTube. The free mobile app is my favorite thing because I send out push notifications. And I did this on the show last week. And everybody was like, oh, really? There's a free mobile app? And yes, there absolutely is. We were the first drag racing related app, period, in the App Store. I stand by that. No one's got evidence. Certainly media related. We were the first ones by a long shot, by years. Not because I'm a great innovator, because I had a friend who started an app business and he knew what I was doing. And so you can get right to the merch store, right through the app. But I send out these push notifications. WFO meetup, Stampede of Speed, happening in Dave and Sue Morris's pit at certain time. WFO merch discounted right now for the next 6 hours, 35% off. So get the WFO app. It's available in all the app stores. But then, the podcast version is what's up. Also, I got to get one of the Fire shirts. Yeah, this is it. I like it. It's not overly WFO. It's a statement about your own personality. Like, are you or are you not? Love being part of the WFO community. Will you have Clay on this week? I don't know. Honestly, Dylan. I love Clay. Clay is one of my favorite interviews, and it's great for numbers. So Smart Joe should try to get Clay on tomorrow. But at the same time, getting prepared for the Stampede of Speed and all the associated chaos for 11 days is also important. So I'll reach out to Clay and see if he's available. And if he's available, we'll get Clay. How about Jimmo? Yeah, we didn't spend a lot of time talking about Clay. Clay wins the race. It's like, he won the race. Let's talk about Clay Millican for a second and the Comp Cam's Edelbrock scheme. It's all about Illinois for those guys. They want to add races in Illinois. Clay Millican is 65 in the final, identical to Leah, runs 75, outruns her. And I had a couple of great conversations with Jimmo this week just about the heat and dealing with the heat and why his tune-up is working in the heat. And they put a lot into it. And Bruce Reed from Australia is helping him out. And so happy for those guys. The problem is Clay, even with the win, and has had some good performances, Clay is 152 out of the lead. But every position is worth a significant amount of money. Every position is worth a significant amount of money. So they got to keep on going. You know, Jimmo is a Dallas guy. He's going to be hometown. There's a lot of hometown racers going on out there. So I would love to see Clay keep it going. Clay Millican, here's the thing about Clay. Clay is a beloved individual. If you had everybody make a list of their top 5 favorite people at the track, I bet you Clay would be on most lists. First, second, third, fifth, that doesn't really matter. But he would be on most lists because he's a fine gentleman. He's generally always positive, even through his most negative of times. Surrounded by his family, they're loving it. He's sharing his life out there on YouTube. And for Clay to do well. So did he do well? 3 wins on the year. By the way, something, again, didn't get to lay into it, so let's do it here. First ever battle of new NASCAR-themed team owners. Tony Stewart versus Rick Ware. The 2 newest team owners in the NHRA. You know, like, is it a good thing to mention NASCAR? I don't know. Tony Stewart comes from NASCAR generally and many other things. Rick Ware comes from NASCAR generally, but also many other things. Got an IndyCar team too. But the 2 owners who are the newest, who have invested in drag racing, the fresh new owners in drag racing, they raced each other in the final round of Top Fuel. Like, I felt like that was worth mentioning. And Rick Ware wins the battle. Like, good for Rick Ware and good for Tony Stewart. That's cool. That's new. That's something fresh. All the people who are thinking, no, it's fresh. It's new owners, new ownership groups, new personalities. Tracy Millican is out there still wearing my blue hat. Tracy knows what fire's all about. Clay didn't know what fire was all about. Tracy knew. That's it. And keep climbing the mountain, Clay, is really what she's saying. Stephen Frisk. Dawn says, lucky you, sister. Final comment. Millican shared a great day of his first NHRA win during Q&A with Millican and Charlotte. Will bring you to tears for sure. One of my, to this day, best NHRA memories. Clay wins in Bristol. And they asked me to kind of that W deal I was talking about. Like, Jason Logan had to leave. Joe, we need you to go on stage and throw out T-shirts so that the crowd will gather around and be a part of the stage show so we can celebrate Clay. And here they come, and I'm throwing out shirts, and I'm watching Clay and the drivers come back in the Mellow Yellow Express at the time. And I got to like experience that winner's circle moment a little bit. It was really great. Like right now, you know, I'd have to like write them down, but that is one of the top personal moments that I got to share out there at the NHRA Clay. And, you know, now he's winning so much. It's kind of like, I don't want to say it's no big deal, but it's much more common, right? You go have a steak once a year. It's the best thing you've ever had. You have a steak once a week. It's still great, but it's different. So, you know, take that. Lee is out there. I'm here too. Yeah. Clay's whole family is on here. Thank goodness we took a second to deep dive into Clay's win. Yeah. It might've been the best win ever. All the different stuff. It may be the best win ever, Clay Millican's Bristol win. But, you know, this is not a one-off kind of thing. There's 3 races remaining. If Clay Millican wins another or 2 more, like what is possible? What is possible? And we don't know. And while some things are unlikely and the probability is not over 50%, you got to fight the fight. And that's what I say all the time. You got to fight the fight. You got to go out there. You got to strap on that helmet, and you got to go out there and do your best. I don't think counting points is a good idea. Well, if this person gets this many points and that person gets that many points and we get this many points, I think that is anti the Bruce Lee methodology that I have chosen to adopt with regards to competition. And I say it all the time, and I'll say it again. Think not of victory or defeat. Think only of the task at hand. You know, shifting the car, reacting to the light, staying calm in a difficult situation, or doing whatever you do to be at your best. Everybody says one round at a time because that's the religion of the NHRA. It really is. We've got a great shirt on our merch store. Nobody's buying it. One round at a time. It's a cliche thing, but it's true. One round at a time. That's how you succeed. And it's not even one round at a time. It's one process at a time. Get the car to the line. Make sure everything's right. Complete the burnout. Unless you're Greg Anderson, then you don't need that. Guy muffs the burnout. Final round wins. Hartford muffs the burnout. U.S. Nationals wins. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe everybody will start muffing burnouts. All right, guys, this has been great fun. Hopefully you'll share the show. Appreciate all of you. Maybe we'll see you tomorrow. I'll reach out to Clay right now. See what happens. WFO